Hello, investors. This is Ted Zhang, Associate Portfolio Manager with Revere Asset Management. Today is Sunday, October 13th, 8:16 p.m. coming to you from Virginia with this weekend's weekend walkthrough. So let's get right into it. State of the market. Of course, we're still in an uptrend. Um, GROTECTION gauge, all four green up arrows. Market leaders are acting stellar. Short term above the 21, medium term above the 50, and long term above the 200. The S&P 500 is in all-time highs, and of course, that is a good thing. So let's go, as always, to the chart of the S&P 500. There's really nothing much to talk about. Past few weeks, we kept bouncing off this line we've been discussing in our videos. Good above the line, bad below. We kept staying above the line. Now the 20-day moving average has caught up and is above as well, supporting this area as well as the 10 EMA. And S&P's in all-time highs. RSP also another all-time high. There's really not too much to talk about. Um, S&P 500 equal weighted, both all-time highs. The Nasdaq really perfect 3-month VCP base. You can see the first contraction was here, high to low. Second contraction here, third contraction here. We broke out of it. We can call this a little mini cup with handle as well. And taking out 495 will probably send us back to 500, and especially this 503 area. QQEW at an all-time high weekly close. That is great action here as well. Midcaps, a new all-time high blasting through this clean and simple level. This is exactly what we've talked about in our videos and I've talked about previously. We had a V-shaped recovery off the 200-day moving average, found support there with a hammer. And then compressed right side usually needs right side development. That's exactly what we got the next few weeks. Got super tight and now we broke out. IWM is the laggard, but still building extremely nice 3-month base. Some volatility in this, but you can call it a volatility contraction. Found support the 50, and so far wedge popped above the 10 and 20. Dow all-time highs. Nothing much to say there. Beautiful action. VIX continues to find some resistance around the 24 area. We want to see the VIX continue to come below 20, then below the 200-day, below 15, and chill, and find itself a room and just find itself a home in this 10 to 13 area. FNGS broke out of this cheat VCP as well, 4 days up in a row. Great action here as well. Mega caps, and judging by the charts of Apple, which I'll show right now, perfect VCP base as well, over 233 and it's gone. NVIDIA, some nice VCP characteristics above this 130 level. Now this 136 area is key. Really constructive base, even though it's wider and looser than the previous ones. But if that gets going, I'd expect FNGS to make new all-time highs as well. The Mag 7 index building a really nice cup with handle, getting really tight on this right side, break above this area, this 2000 area, and markets likely will continue higher. Our RGA index, nice breakout of this cup with handle. New 52-week high weekly close, so that is great as well. And breadth is definitely expanding, as you can see from the RSP, QQQE, and our RGA index. Quickly looking at bond yields, the short rates are finding some resistance and backing off, but the long rates continue to head higher. So that just kind of tells us the economy is still holding in there, still pretty hot, not seeing too much cooling in the economy or softening. 2-year notes starting to find some support. So with the 10-year continues to drift lower, 30-year as well, below the 200-day. Junk bonds, you can see fighting support the 50. High yields fighting support the 50 as well. And then if we go to the dollar, it's following yields higher. And we might be able to find some resistance at the 20-week moving average, which we're at right now, as well as the 30 and 40-week moving average above. And that can help us find some resistance and give us more tailwinds for the markets. Gold started undercutting the 20-day, but we just wedge popped back above the 10 and 20. Looks great, continues to flag. Silver continues to build this base, some nice VCP characteristics. We saw a failed breakout and then a failed breakdown, just hanging right at the 10 and 20 right now. Copper, big move up, saw a reversal at this 470 level, hold back in, but still surfing these MAs and looking to get back above the 10 and 20. And then looking at Bitcoin, continues to build this big base. We'll go from a longer term time frame, quarterly chart, really nice cup with handle inside quarter, go to a monthly chart inside month. Now we'll go to a weekly chart, a really nice cup with handle, a really nice right side. When so far we've opened up inside last week, we'll see how we trade. Above this downtrend line, the 66,500 area, um, that will likely trigger the breakout of Bitcoin. If you go on a daily chart, we can see that more closely. Then 70,000 would be next, find the 72, but taking out 70,000 pretty much takes out most of the base. And that probably sends Bitcoin to new all-time highs. And quickly looking at the IBD 50 as well, we've broken out this cheat of this cup with handle on volume. That's really reflecting the stocks as well in the growthier mid-cap stocks. This is precisely what we want to look for in terms of our trend following style in growth stocks to really get an easy dollar environment. And we're starting to feel that in the stocks. Quickly touch on the New York Stock Exchange, all-time highs as well. That's exactly what we want to see. NASDAQ composites like the Qs, we are above. We did close above 18,300, stronger than the Qs. This levels up next, but this is precisely what we want to see. Now, quickly go over some breadth. The Pradeep Market Monitor flashes green across the board, which just tells us that buying breakouts is favorable. We also had a breadth thrust with 383 stocks up 4% plus last Friday. That's always a good sign to see. Net highs across the board, 5-day, 1 month, 3 month, 6 month, 52-week, year to date are all flashing green, and we can look at it on a visual. Nice break of, I guess you could call it a downtrend. Now we saw 193 net highs in the New York Stock Exchange. In the NASDAQ, huge explosion from negative into positive 200. And then this is interesting. The NYSE and the NASI are in downtrends. RSI is actually near oversold. You can only imagine what would happen once these start flipping and we enter an uptrend in this, with the RSI extending back into overbought. So there's definitely some room in terms of the McClellan summation index. Go to some sentiment though. Greed is almost in extreme greed. But as we've seen in the past, some of the strongest markets and rallies are when extreme greed has persisted for multiple weeks. So we could just be in the beginning, especially with the breakouts at a 3 month plus basis. AAII, definitely in 4 weeks now above historical averages, and bears 4 weeks below historical averages. And these conditions can definitely persist. These are, of course, secondary indicators. And Don has talked about the bulls minus the bears, 49 minus 20, that's about 29. When it's bulls greater than 32, that's a secondary sell signal. But of course, we go by price action of indexes and sectors, as well as, of course, market leaders first. NAM exposure is up to 90. 100 is really where you have to start to get worried. As you can see, these peaks here, July 3rd, which started forming that top. There's a correction starting in March as well. Same with December, heading into the new year in 2024, we saw a quick pullback. And then July 26th, that started that correction from July through November 2023, which set off this recent leg. Quickly talking about rates, there's a 90% probability right now for 25% basis point rate cut in November, and then 10% priced in for no rate cut. That is breadth. We'll quickly go over some earnings. This is the beginning of earnings season, starting off JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, which beat last Friday. More financial institutions Tuesday. You can see Citigroup, Bank of America, some big names, Goldman Sachs, Schwab, PNC, State Street, just some massive financial institutions. Of course, they're the bedrock and foundations of our economy. They really give us a signal how the economy is doing, and those will be key. We also have Johnson & Johnson, United Airlines, IBKR, Tuesday after the close. Wednesday before the open, you have ASML, Morgan Stanley. After the close, you have Alcoa, Discover. Before they open, TSM is a pretty big semiconductor name. Blackstone as well. After the close Thursday, you have Netflix, Intuitive Surgical, and then Friday you just have a few other names like Schlumberger. That is earnings. Now, economic calendar, relatively quiet one this week after CPI, PPI, after we got over CPI, PPI last week. We have Columbus Day holiday, bond markets closed, but we do have equities. Tuesday, Empire State Manufacturing Survey. Thursday, jobless claims, retail sales. and then Friday, housing starts and building permits. So with that being said, let's jump into some charts actually. Um, we'll use the market search platform. Let's talk about NVIDIA. You can see I've talked about this multiple times, broke this downtrend line, has ran up so far, finding support, this resistance at this 136 area. And this is probably where NVIDIA might struggle a little bit for a few days. I would love to see something like that. A few days down, sideways, and then break out of a handle like that. In the same group, Avgo as well, poked its head into new all-time highs, found some resistance in supply, and maybe just needs to build out a handle. And this is really just pointing to semiconductors falling, going to new highs. Another one, TSM, also nice VCP characteristics. Broke out of this, pulled back. Now we're heading into new highs as well. And we'll take a look at SOX. As you can see, we're not extended at all above these clean and simple levels. Moving average convergence as well between the 8, 21, 50, and 200 on volume last Friday too, above 238, and semiconductors can run 267. And above that, we're into new all-time highs once again. Huge base forming as well. And Marcus Smith grades it a stage one base. So there could definitely be a longer runway in semiconductors, especially how banks have been talking with Jensen Huang, and they said the Blackwell chips are in huge demand and almost even sold out for the next 12 months. Of course, I have to talk about MSTR. Huge breakout to new all-time highs with Bitcoin finding support the 50-day. Powerful, powerful breakout trading almost 30 million shares. And this is just typical clean and simple base into new all-time highs. Another crypto name, Course, nice VCP characteristics, broke this downtrend line right here. You can also say the left side peak high, and that's also made its own all-time high as well. And that's on volume as well. Tesla, though, we talked about how disappointed on robotaxi. Um, Elon Musk often will be overly optimistic and promise products and production um, on an accelerated timeline, but eventually he does get things done, and it's remarkable. I wouldn't bet against Elon Musk myself, but huge distribution day on this gap down, close below 50-day. Tesla is off limits right now. 26 RS rating as well. RS line just plummets, and this is a no-go. But on the flip side, analysts have talked about Uber being the leader in the autonomous vehicle distribution field. Uber gapped up, call it an episodic pivot into new all-time highs on huge volume as well. So that's another area of the market to look out for. The power generation names, let's cover that group. CEG gapped up here on all-time highs, highest volume ever on the power generation deal with Microsoft. Ran up, had this huge pullback to the 20, 21 day and 250 area upside reversal. So that's looking great now. VST also found support at the 20-day upside reversal. This type of action with ants pulling back and seeing support is just institutions trying to get in. NRG as well. Pulled back to the top of the base, upside reversal as well. GEV continues to be the strongest in the group. Just amazing base breakout. It has trended along the 8 this entire way for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks. That's extraordinary action from GEV. And so some other names, sorry about that. My alarm went off. Some other names I'm watching that are still in bases or actually in setups. High tight flag. Duolingo made about 100% move, and now this super, super tight flag. 95 RS, 435% growth in 2024 expected. That's just some amazing action. You can look at the weekly. You can see that high tight flag as well. That's kind of typical William O'Neill high tight flag. Ran up in less than 8 weeks, 100%. 2 weeks sideways. 2 to 5 is usually the range. So we'll see this breaks out now. You see volume contracting both of those weeks as well. So that looks amazing. Deck is more of a laggard, but it's in this huge base and above this pivot. Also coincides with gap days lows. That could definitely see a run into the previous highs as well. 91 RS, 11 days. We'll see earnings, and it's had some consistent earnings with acceleration for 3 quarters in a row, and both in all 3 earnings, sales, and pre-tax margins. Another one I keep an eye on is China theme with their stimulus measures. It ran up huge, pulled back, definitely still a controlled pullback, and KWeb can do some leverage with the yen. Looks like a pretty harsh pullback since it's leverage. But if China's meant to go higher with their stimulus, cutting reserve ratios for the banks, um, cutting 7-day reverse repo rates, giving stimulus to equities, it's obviously when central banks supporting a market, it's going to head higher. Part of the EV theme, though, since Tesla's not doing as well, NIO is actually in a nice, huge move up, changing character, breaking that. Moving average is starting to align. XPEV as well. Huge change in character from being beaten down. We can see the earnings acceleration line has been heading in a 1 o'clock direction. In a, you can argue high type flag as well. So that's definitely on watch. But again, these are China names. So there's more political risk, more gap risk. So you got to definitely be careful in that respect. Another thing I want to talk about is the restaurants. Kava continues to make a new all-time high. SG poked its head out uh, for a new 52-week high. This is still on watch. Maybe it tightens up a couple days and then makes a move. Jackson saw some volatility, kind of poke its head out at all-time highs. So this needs some time to calm down a bit as well. And yeah, so these are some names I'm watching. The, the markets are really strong, market leaders, plenty of groups and sectors moving. This is exactly what you want to see. When you see names flowing out of sectors like BEG, VSD temporarily on these pullbacks, and then they're being supported. Actually, one more group I want to cover is when we saw some funds flowing out of these names, we saw them flow into cybersecurity like PNAW, breaking out this nice downtrend line sheet. We're approaching the all-time highs, and we'll see if we can put in a handle here. So that's definitely on watch. Crowd, definitely weaker, got destroyed on their issues. Reclaim the 200 day. FTNT was another name that made a new all-time high. Nothing is bearish about all-time highs. And so that's going to wrap it for this weekend's video. Let me get the page back up here. And as always, if you're interested in becoming a client, please email me at ted@revereasset.com. My Twitter is Ted H. Zhang. Thank you for following me there as well. I just hit 30,000 followers. And if you want to keep up with real-time updates, please hit that notification bell. And you can also email Dan at don@revereasset.com. Our website is revereasset.com, and our YouTube channel is Revere Asset on YouTube. And we post daily market video updates, weekend videos like this one, and weekly podcasts on Fridays. You can also call us old school at 855 Real Wealth, and that is 855-732-5932. And if you're interested in becoming a client, definitely please reach out, like I said. And I'll wrap it up for this weekend's video. It is Sunday, October 13th. This is Ted Zhang with Revere Asset Management, telling it like it is. Thank you for listening. Have a great rest of your week. We'll continue to ride the wave. We have the 4 coveted up arrows, and that means we're growing assets.